Mangacharana. Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Janan Timirida Dasia, Janan Salankaya, Shakul Ulimtam, Yenatam Tasmai, Sri Guru Nama. Shri Chaitanya Namo Bistma, Sva Pitanam Yena Butale, Svyayam Rupa Kadam Hyayam Tadafi, Sva Padak Tikanam. Vade Ham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada, Kamalam Sri Guru Grun Vaisnacha, Sri Rupam Sagra Jatan Sahagana Raghunatha Vietnam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuno Sido, Dino Bado Jagat Pate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapka Kananchana Garangi, Radhe Vrindavan Varan Rafi, Bantu Sute Devi Pranam Haripriye. Vancha Kalpata Ubisya, Kripa Sidubia Evacha. Patinam Pavanemobio, Vaishnebio Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. You can be our official Mangalacharan recital now.
I will try to practice more and more.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everybody. Danvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. Mataji has just called me up. She will be joining us soon. I think they have a power failure. So maybe she is trying to join in. But we can just continue. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 7. And the text for today is text 2. Is there anybody who could read the Sanskrit of text 2? Indulekha Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, give me a second. Let me find the book.
Okay.
Canto 2, text 2. Which is, sorry, Canto 2?
Canto 2, Chapter 7, text 2. Just we'll read the text because Mataji has joined us.
Okay.
But we can just read the text. And we can hand over to Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Apologies for being a bit late. Sorry, I was just having a bit of a problem. Hare Krishna. So Mataji, have you read, has the Mangalacharan been read?
Yes, we've recited the Mangalacharan. And now we were just going to read the text too. Would you like us to read the text?
Shall I continue or yes, you want to read?
If someone wants to read it, they yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So,
Indulekha Mataji, kindly go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Text 2. Chato rucher ajanayat suyaman suyagna akuti sunur amaranatha dakshinayam lokatrayasya mahatim aharat yad artim swayam bhuvena manuna harirityanukuttaha.
Thank you
I
so
read
much,
the translation
Mataji.
also.
We'll hand over to Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for joining in. Danvat Pranam from everybody who have joined the group and are about to join. Mataji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 7. We've done the Mangalacharan and we have just read the text. So over to
Thank
you. Kindly tell us if you wanted us to read anything else. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come and do the service again with the blessings and mercy of my Guruji and all the Gurus, and with all the mercy and blessings of all of you. I start discussing our chapter, our verse today. But before that, I'm just going to read the translation and the purport, if that's okay. So, Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.7.2, Mataji has indicated, Mataji has very kindly read the verse, so I'll read the translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Prajapati first begot Suyagna in the womb of his wife Akuti, and then Suyagna begot demigods, headed by Suyama in the womb of his wife Dakshina. Suyagna, as the Indradeva, diminished very great miseries in the three planetary systems, upper, lower, and intermediate. And because he so diminished the miseries of the universe, he was later called Hari by the great father of mankind, namely Swayambhuva Manu. Now the purport: in order to guard against the invention of unauthorized incarnations of Lord of God by the fanciful, less intelligent persons, the name of the father of the bona fide incarnation is also mentioned in the authorized revealed scriptures. No one, therefore, can be accepted as an incarnation of the Lord if his father's name, as well as the name of the village or place in which he appears, is not mentioned by the authorized scriptures. In the Bhagavad Purana, the name of the Kalki incarnation, which is to take place in almost 400,000 years, is mentioned along with the name of his father and the name of the village in which he will appear. A sane man, therefore, does not accept any cheap edition of an incarnation without reference to the authorized scriptures. Hare Krishna. So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to do the discussion. So we are in the second verse of this chapter. In chapter 6, Lord Brahma describes to Narad Muni how he is the secondary creator and how he has created the material universe based on the instructions given to him by the Lord. Now, before we even go into the verse today, as I was, discussing about a very dear pastime of Krishna and Radharani the other day. I think in a different class, but yes, as I was discussing, it was it's in one of the pastimes. It said that Radharani wanted to please Krishna. Now that's the only want of Radharani. All she wants to do is just make Krishna happy, because loving Krishna was her entire, or is her entire life. She doesn't think beyond Krishna, and there is no existence for her apart from Krishna. So one day she wanted to address Krishna very nicely. And so she prepared lots and lots and lots and lots of flowers, and flower garlands, flower jewelry. And she, you know, since morning, she was just preparing, making, decorating things so that she can decorate Krishna, do things for him. Krishna came and saw that, and he saw Radharani doing so much for him. And obviously, just as Radharani's entire life is Krishna, Krishna cannot think of his existence without Radharani. And Krishna was thinking, Radharani has made so much of jewelry, so many jewelry for me. She wants to decorate me in so many different ways. I want to please her, but I myself cannot wear all of the things that she has made for me. But how can I don't even want to make her unhappy, because if I don't wear all of them, she will be unhappy, or she, you know, it'll make her sad. She wouldn't say anything to me, but it'll just make her sad. So Krishna said, I have to do something. So what he did was he expanded himself into many Krishnas. He just came as many, many Krishnas, so that with all the flower decoration that, or the jewelry that Radharani has made, all the different Krishnas can be adorned with. Now then Radharani saw all the Krishnas, and she obviously knew what Krishna's done, and she said, but Krishna wants me to decorate him in so many ways, in all his forms. But me alone, I mean, you know, I'm such a, you know, lonely person. I mean, just serving one Krishna, I'm not even qualified for that. How can I serve so many Krishnas? And this is Radharani speaking. I mean, even Krishna himself wants to serve Radharani's feet, but you know, Radharani is so humble and so much overcome by the love of Krishna, or love for Krishna. So she said, me alone, I won't be able to serve so many Krishnas, and it would be wrong not to serve Krishna. That you know, I can't do that. So what does she do? She expands herself into the many Sakhis, so that the Sakhis could serve the other Krishna, and she can serve one Krishna. And this is the want to serve Krishna, the hunger, the want, the need to be able to, you know, do something for Krishna. And I bring this into this conversation whilst discussing this verse, it's because this is the love that the pure devotees of the Lord show for their Lord. There is this hunger, this want, and this need to serve the Lord. And one of the best ways of serving the Lord is to know about him, hear about him. And that is exactly what Narad Muni is doing. Now, he himself is an enlightened person, but what is he doing? He's still asking Lord Brahma more and more and more about the Lord and his various, you know, his various leelas, his various forms, and all about him. And Lord Brahma, being a pure devotee as well, is not tiring at all in giving all these answers to Lord Narada. So there is this want and you know, desire at both ends to listen, to talk about Krishna, hear about Krishna, as we also see, you know, when we see Parikshit Maharaj and Sukdev Goswami. And with that in mind, we delve into this verse about the leelas of Lord Krishna, because even that is how Krishna attracts us. One of the main ways that Krishna attracts us is through his leelas, which we are talking about in this verse. So Narad Muni, so Lord Brahma, in the first verse, tells Narad Muni about the Varaha avatar. So in chapter 6, we see how Lord Brahma tells Narad Muni about Karnadaksha Vishnu, who is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and who is the master of eternal time, space, and is the cause, effect, mind of everything, all the elements elements in this material world, even of the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form of the Lord, and how through him Garbhodaksha Vishnu comes, and and then Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Lord Brahma ends chapter 6 by telling Narada that he will now talk about the transcendental incarnations of the Lord, specifically his Leela avatars. So what is so special about the Leela avatars? Avatar, as in English, we call them incarnation, but we understand that incarnation is still not the exact translation of avatar, but that's the closest that one can get to the real meaning of avatar, as we see in Sanskrit. Now we know that Krishna has unlimited qualities, and because he is infinite, Lord Brahma says in chapter 6 as well that no one can really understand him. But he has all these innumerable, uncountable, and infinite qualities. He has 64 main qualities. And of those 64 main qualities, there are 4 of his qualities that nobody else has. And what are these 4 qualities? They are Leela Madhuri, he has this ocean of astonishing pastimes with which he, engages into a loving relationship with his devotees, with the material world. Then the second one is Prema Madhuri, or the fact that, he's surrounded by devotees and his relationship with his devotee is based on prema, or love. And with this love, so the whole of Krishna consciousness is based on love. The whole of understanding Krishna is based around love. Had he not loved us, we wouldn't even have existed at all. The third one is Venu Madhuri, or the sweet sounds of his flute, which attracts the minds of and consciousness of everyone who listens to his flute, not just in the spiritual world, but also in the material worlds, in all the 3 worlds. And the last one is Rupa Madhuri, or his extraordinary beauty that astonishes all moving and non-moving entities. So all Venu Madhuri and Rupa Madhuri. Now, this is what Rupa Goswami also mentions in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Krishna has this amazing quality of performing pastimes or leelas, as we see from his leela, that quality of Leela Madhuri. And how does he perform his leelas? He performs his leelas through his leela incarnations. Now, again, very, very quickly, and you might have covered this briefly in the class yesterday. We know that there are 6 different kinds of incarnations of Lord Krishna, and I remember in this forum listening to a Prabhuji quite a long time ago, when we talked about the best way of remembering the 6 types of incarnations of the Lord, and that is to remember the acronym GYMPLS, GYMPLS. And how do you remember them? With G comes the Guna avatars. With Y comes the Yuga avatars. With M comes the Manvantara avatars. With P comes the Purusha avatars. With L comes the Leela avatars. And with S comes the Shaktarvarsha avatars. So there are 6 different types of incarnations or avatars of the Lord who comes to this material world. And Leela avatar is one of them, through which, as we said, the Lord performs the various pastimes, innumerable pastimes. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the Paripasha Sutra, does anyone know what is the meaning of Paripasha Sutra? So that's the key verse of the scripture. So if there is a single message that needs to be given to everybody through a book, that message can come, and if that message is given in a verse, a sentence, that is the Paripasha Sutra, or the entire meaning of the whole book can be understood if the core meaning of this single verse can be understood. So that is the key verse, or one of the very, very important verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, if not the most important verse. And we read about this in Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 28, when which says, Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyatulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. And he talks about, it talks about how of all the incarnations, they are either the plenary portions of the Lord or the portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But amongst all of this, Krishna himself is the main person. He is the original personality of Godhead, and he is the origin of all of these incarnations. So then we ask the question, why do these avatars or the incarnations come to the material world? Especially the Leela avatars, the incarnations who come to do lots of pastimes in this material world. And the Lord gives us the answer again many times in the scripture, most famously in the Bhagavad Gita 4.7 and 8, when the Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavata bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shijanyaha. And then it goes on to say, Paritranayam sadhuna vinashaya chadushkrita Karma Sanstapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Or whenever and wherever there is indiscipline or adharma in this world, the Lord comes or incarnates to save the dharmic people, the devotees, and annihilates the non-devotees or the demoniac people. So that is the reason that the Lord comes to the material world. Obviously, if the Lord wanted to, the Lord could have done that even sitting in the spiritual world. The Lord does not need to himself come to the material world to get rid of the demoniac people. He could just have one of his, expansions do that, or he could, he could, just send a natural disaster to take care of some a demoniac character or characters. But obviously he comes to this material world because of his love. And we go back to how the Lord engages and loves to engage with the jivas, with the living entities in this loving relationship. And that is why he comes, innumerable times in innumerable avatars, innumerable Leela avatars. So why do the Leela avatars come? We've just said that, yes, they come to the save, to protect the dharmic and get rid of the adharmic. So when they do come, we are told that they come with a specific function. They do not come just for the sake of coming. They come for a specific function for a specific reason. And that is what this chapter concentrates on. This chapter is telling us about all the Leelas. I mean, you know, not all the Leela avatars. There are innumerable Leela avatars. Of that, Sukhdev Goswami has mentioned around 25 in over here. And we read about these 25 avatars here. And we are told in this chapter that all of them came for a specific purpose. In verse 1, we hear how Varahadev came to save Mother Earth. So when the first demon, Hiranyakshi is the first demon, he you know, just drowned Mother Earth. I mean, and he played havoc. He was playing havoc with, you know, everything. And as a result of his, you know, hugely unethical deeds, Mother Earth had to, you know, she drowned in the Garbhodak ocean. And how the Lord, as Lord Varahadeva, rescued Mother Earth on his tusk and then saved and put her back into the orbit. So in the first verse, we see how Varahadeva came to save Mother Earth, and that was his specific duty and task. And now we come to verse 2. In verse 2, very interestingly, we are told about a lineage. We hear about quite a bit about the history or where who came from where. The other day when we were talking about the Ram Leela, we were talking about the Divya Yugas or the Mahayugas. And the Mahayugas, they consist of the 4 yugas. One Mahayuga has the combination of Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga. All 4 together forms one Mahayuga. So in one day of Brahma, of Lord Brahma, there are 1,000 Divya or Mahayugas. And along with these 1,000 Divya Yugas, there are also 14 Manus in one day of Lord Brahma. Manu, the first man. First man from whom the word the Manushya comes, or the man comes. So he's the first man. So in one day of Lord Brahma, there are 14 Manus. And each Manu reigns for about 71 Divya Yugas. Divya Yuga or Mahayugas. So we hear about Swayambhava Manu in this verse. So Swayambhava Manu is the first Manu of this day of Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma rules for about 100 years. In one day, we are talking about one day of Lord Brahma. And in this particular day of Lord Brahma, Swayambhuva Manu is the first Manu. Is that okay? Yeah. Now, so does anyone know under which Manu we are now at? So if Swayambhuva Manu was the first Manu in this day of Lord
Manvantara.
Yes, Mataji, and we are in the, what is the name of our Manu? So we are under.
No, it's not Swayambhuva. It's I just forgot it. Sorry, I forgot.
Vaivashvata Manu.
Thank you. Yeah, Vaivashvata Manu.
Vaivashvata Manu. And Vaivashvata Manu, he is the 7th Manu. So that is our Manu. The first Manu was Swayambhuva Manu. Now, Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Satarupa, they had 5 children. They had 3 sons and 2 daughters. The first son of Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Satarupa was called Priyavrata. and Priyavrata. And now remember, the Manus, they are the first men, and Lord Brahma created his sons and the Manus, and their only task was to increase the population, to populate the universes. Okay, so Swayambhuva Manu and his wife, they had their first son, whose name was Priyavrata, and Priyavrata did not want to marry. He was a renunciate. So he did not want to engage in family life at all. So he left everything. The second son was called Uttanapada. Uttanapada is famously the father of, does anyone know? He was the father of
Dhruv Maharaj.
That's right, Mataji. He was the father of Dhruva Maharaj, as we know. So these were the two sons of Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Satyareva. Now they also had 3 daughters. The first daughter's name was Akuti, who's mentioned in our verse today. The second daughter's name was Devahuti, and the third daughter's name was Prasuti. Lord Brahma had many sons, and his sons, the Prajapatis, were also his sons. The Prajapatis, again, their main task was to populate the universe. Now, the Prajapatis were formed from his imagination, from his mind. That is how the Prajapatis were born. They were born out of Lord Brahma's imagination, his mind, or his shadow, as we will hear in a bit. Yes. Now, we come back to Swayambhuva Manu and his daughters. So the first daughter, Akuti, got married to Prajapati Ruchi. Okay, so in this verse, in verse 2, we are told that Akuti married Prajapati. So that Prajapati's name was Prajapati Ruchi. And Prajapati Ruchi and Akuti had a son and a daughter. The son was called Suyagna, and the daughter was called Dakshina. Now, according to some Puranas, like the Garuda Purana and some other Puranas, it is mentioned that Swayambhuva Manu had an agreement with his daughter Akuti. And he told his daughter Akuti that if you have a son, please give that son to me. So when Suyagna was born, Akuti gave the son to Swayambhuva Manu, who then adopted Suyagna as his son. Now, because they are Prajapatis and their main aim is they are tasked by the Lord to populate, they could marry anybody. And so Suyagna married Dakshina, who is the daughter of Akuti. So Suyagna ended up marrying his own sister. Yes, so we see Swayambhuva Manu, his daughter Akuti. Akuti married Prajapati Ruchi. They had a son and a daughter. The son Suyagna was given to Swayambhuva Manu, and then that son Suyagna married Dakshina. Going back to the 3 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu again, the second daughter, Devahuti, married another son of Lord Brahma. So, his name was Kardama Muni, who was born from the shadow of Lord Brahma. So whereas Prajapati Ruchi, she was born from his imagination, from his mind. Kardama Muni, who was another son of Lord Brahma, he was born from the shadow of Lord Brahma, and he married the second daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, Devahuti. Prasuti, the third daughter, married Prajapati Daksha, and we know that they famously had a daughter called Mother Sati, who also married Lord Shiva. And then there's a whole pastime around what happened to Mother Sati, and how Daksha did not really approve of Lord Shiva, etc. So why are we talking about this family history? So we now know who is Suyagna's mother, who is Suyagna's father, and who Suyagna is married to, etc. The Papa tells us that family history is very, very important to know. We need to know the lineage of people. If we are learning about the incarnations of the Lord, it is very, very important to know everything about the Lord, where he comes from, what's his lineage, where is he born. Scriptures tell us everything, and they tell us all about the Lord's family, the Lord's devotees' families, and where we can trace back to. So Prabhupada very famously once told somebody who said, you know, Prabhupada, why do we only have to worship Krishna? Why can't we worship any Tom, Dick, and why can't we worship any other god? You know, there are so many gods, and Prabhupada said, well, if you know the god's name and address and how the god looks and how you can relate to the god and how you can talk to the god, you can definitely go and follow that god. So it tells us how we are told in Sanatan term how personal our dharma is, how the Lord is so personal, and as soon as you make it into a personal relationship, you want to know everything about that person. You have a personal relationship with a person, a relationship of love between, your Lord and some, or any relation you take in this world. If you love somebody, you want to know more about that somebody. And you don't want to know wrong things about that person. You want to know the accurate details about that person. So similarly, if we are being told about the incarnations of the Lord in this material world, we need to know the accurate details about the Lord, where he comes from, who were his parents, and where he was born, and what happened to him and what he did. So we are also told that Suyagna, so in one of his commentaries, Sridhar Swami, who is famous for his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, Sridhar Swami says that Suyagna is an incarnation of the Lord, and his task was to create the demigods. So, and that is also mentioned in this verse, that Suyagna he was not just an incarnation of the Lord, but his task, he created the demigods. Now the demigods, again, we know that the demigods are different positions. Most of the demigods are positions, and those positions are filled in by exalted devotees, exalted personalities. So Suyagna created, or he gave birth, he along with his wife, they gave birth to many such personalities who were able to take up the positions of the demigods. But the other thing, the other function of this incarnation of the Lord was to relieve the three worlds, the upper, middle, and the lower worlds, of the distresses, the miseries, and try and make people as happy as possible in this material bondage, in this material prison, and try to take away the unhappiness or the pains and the distresses that are met by the jivas in this material world. So that was again one of the major tasks that was taken up by this incarnation of the Lord, Suyagna. Now, if you look at Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in quite a few cantos. We hear about the Lord's incarnations in Canto 1, then in Canto 2 again, in Canto 7, very, very briefly, again in the 11th canto, and it's mentioned in quite details in the 11th canto, where in one of the purports, in the 11th canto, chapter 4 and also chapter 5, in one of the purports of the verses, specifically verses 38 to 40 in chapter 5 of canto 11, Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada include Jiva Goswami's commentary of it or refers to it. And Jiva Goswami says that this incarnation of the Lord Suyagna was also later on became Indra, took up the position of Indra in that time, in that age. Okay, so rather Indra is the the king of the demigods. So Suyagna was not only an incarnation of the Lord, but he also took up the position of Indra. Now, as we also know that there are 3 guna avatars of the Lord. And what are the guna avatars? Brahma, Lord Brahma, who is in charge of the mode of passion. Lord Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance. And then Lord Vishnu, who is in the mode of goodness. And the task of the guna avatar, avatars are Lord Brahma, he's the creator, he's tasked to create the universe. Lord Vishnu, his task is to maintain the universe, and Lord Shiva, his task is to annihilate the creation so that there is scope for a new creation. So these are the tasks of the guna avatars. So this Lord Vishnu, or the other name of Vishnu is Hari. This Hari, Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami says that this Hari is none other than Suyagna. And it's also mentioned in our verse today. That's why Manu later called Suyagna as Hari. So Hari is none other than Lord Krishna, and we see how he is not just a Leela avatar. He came to this universe and he incarnated not just to release the distresses of the world, not just to create the demigods, but he's also the came as Lord Hari, who is also a Guna avatar. So we see this overlap of Guna avatar and Leela avatar, and we understand that Lord Hari, to him maintaining the entire universe, is also a Leela. Because how is he maintaining the universe? To maintain a universe, he has to engage in, he has to engage in his Leelas. He has to perform his Leelas to be able to maintain the universe. He's not creating the universe. That is already been created. He's not destroying the universe. That is Lord Shiva's task. But to maintain, so if you think of it, we wake up in the morning, we go to sleep at night. During the day, we stay awake. Now, when we stay awake, do we just stay awake and do nothing? That is not true. When we are awake, during the day, we engage in different activities. So when Lord Hari maintains the universe between creation and between annihilation, the maintaining means engaging in different activities, isn't it? And what are those activities? Those are the various Leelas. So he engages himself. So the whole maintaining of the universe is also a big whole Leela of the Lord. So the Leela avatar, Suyagna, as the, a localized Leela avatar, he takes care, he releases the distresses. but on the entirety, in his entirety, as Leela, as an incarnation of the Lord, as a combination of Guna and Leela avatar, he maintains the three worlds. He maintains the universes. Does that make sense? Yes, hopefully it does. Yes. So this is what Jiva Goswami, mentions in his commentary in the 11th canto, that that Suyatna is not just a Leela avatar, but he is also a Guna avatar. So in this purport, we can see that, Prabhupada is also paying so much attention to who is a bona fide incarnation. So we now know the true, who is Surayagna, where does he come from? We know what is the purpose of this incarnation, and Prabhupada further reiterates the fact that it is very, very important to understand that these incarnations are mentioned in the Shastras, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry cannot just come and say that they are avatars or they are incarnations. So especially nowadays, we have many people coming and saying that we are incarnations of the Lord, or we are lords themselves, and Prabhupada just, in his typical way, he just calls them rascals, and he says, they don't deserve to come, to even come near Krishna consciousness. So similarly, we see that, the Shastras talk about all the avatars, how there are at least 10 different references of Mahaprabhu, who's the hidden avatar in this Kali Yuga. We are told very, very clearly about the other Yuga avatars, in the other three Yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. But despite the fact that in Kali Yuga we have a hidden avatar, even that hidden avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has been mentioned very, very explicitly in the Shastras in at least 10 different places. Even Prahlad Maharaj, he alludes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he says to Lord Narasimhadeva that, in every yuga you come and you say that you are Lord, you are God. But in Kali Yuga, you won't even say that. So we see so many references, and Prabhupada keeps reiterating this fact that, refer to your guru, go back to your guru, go back to the Shastras, and and know who the real incarnations are. And in one of their recent books called The Divine Prophecy, written by Sridhar Srinivas Prabhu, there's a commentary again by a very, very elevated and exalted devotee from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Now, as we know that the Vaishnava Sampradaya, there are 4 parts to it. So you have the Gauriya Sampradaya from Brahma, Lord Brahma, you have the Sri Sampradaya, you have the Rudra Sampradaya, and you have the Kumara Sampradaya. So the Sri Sampradaya, who worship Goddess Lakshmi, even in their Shastras, even there is a commentary about the birth of the Panchatattvas and exactly where the Panchatattvas will be born. So Sridhar Srinivas Prabhu in his book mentions that not just the incarnations of the Lord and his close devotees, not are they just mentioned in our Shastra, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Shastras, but also in all the other authentic Shastras, all the real incarnations are mentioned. And it is so very important for us to understand that we should only and only refer to and follow the incarnations that are mentioned in the Shastras, because they are the direct expansions, of the Lord. They are Lord themselves. and we must follow their teachings. This is again reiterated in the verse today, and also in the purport today. And I conclude our discussion today by again very, very nice pastime of Srila Prabhupada, where a devotee goes to Srila Prabhupada and says, but Prabhupada, there's just so much to know. So many people come and say, you know, they are Lord, they are God. How do we understand who is real? Who do we follow? You know, how do we know what is real, what is true? And, you know, we see people doing lots of, you know, walking on water, or, you know, the yogis, so many yogis, they could perform, they could even lift themselves and, you know, walk in air. How do we know that they are not incarnations, or they are not true, or, you know, whatever they say are not true? And Prabhupada said that if you want to know, if you want to become a bad person, and he gives, you know, he gives the example of a person who drinks a lot, and he drinks so much that, you know, he's not in his senses, and he's, you know, 24/7, he's a drunkard. And Prabhupada says, if you want to become such a person, what do? You associate with such a person. But if you want to become a drunkard in bhakti, that is, you only drink the sweetness of devotion and bhakti, what do? You associate with pure devotees. You associate with devotees. And as soon as you associate with devotees, you will then start knowing who the real incarnations are, who the real people are, and you will start believing in the Shastras and not in anything or anybody else. So that is what we really have to do. So we have to have that hunger that Lord Krishna has for Radharani and his devotees, and Radharani has for Lord Krishna, that hunger of wanting to love each other. We want to practice bhakti with that hunger and know who the Lord is and who the real incarnations of the Lord is. And we want to know the lineage of that Lord. We want to know the Shastras to be able to know the real identity of these incarnations. And we want to engage or associate with our real gurus, with real devotees, to be able to increase our taste in Krishna consciousness, so that we understand the real from the wrong. So with that, I finish our discussion today. If I have made any mistakes, please do forgive me.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for explaining us the lineage. Personally, when I read the translation, I couldn't understand anything. So thank you for really, really simplifying this translation. And even the purport doesn't explain all the lineage, so it was very confusing. So you have really clarified all my doubts. Just Lord Hari, is it Krishna, or which Leela avatar is it, or is
it's Vishnu? It's the Vishnu form. So he's a Guna avatar. So he maintains. So Hari is another name of Krishna. Yes, you're right. So the incarnation is Suyagna, but in, you know, Jiva Goswami says that Suyagna is also, refers to Suyagna also as Lord Hari, who's also a Guna avatar and who's also maintaining the universes. And Jiva
so
Goswami
he's a Guna
says
avatar
that, and also a Leela
sorry.
avatar. And also a Leela avatar.
So in Leela avatar is who? Is it
Leela
Vishnu
avatars.
or Krishna?
So Leela avatars are the incarnations who comes and performs pastimes in this material world. Guna avatars are the you know, are the creators, maintainer, and the annihilator of the universes. So the Leela avatar Krishna comes in Dwapar Yuga as a Leela avatar, but he is also Krishna in his original form. In this kalpa, Krishna comes as himself. Krishna does not come as himself all the time, but in specific times he comes as himself. And when he comes as himself, in that specific Dwapar, in that specific Kali Yuga, which follows a Dwapar Yuga where Krishna comes as himself, that Kali Yuga has Mahaprabhu come as, Krishna himself again comes as Mahaprabhu. So as we are explained that Krishna in his various Yuga avatars, Krishna comes in different colors, whereas, in Satya Yuga, he comes as white, in Treta Yuga. Some say Lord Ram is reddish, some say he's greenish, but he comes as it is the Shastra say reddish. In Dwapar Yuga, Krishna comes as darkish color, but in Kali Yuga, when it is Lord Mahaprabhu, when Krishna comes himself as Mahaprabhu, we see him come in a yellowish color because he takes the mood of Radharani. But in other Kali Yugas, where in the Dwapar Yuga, where Krishna does not come as himself, in those Kali Yugas, Krishna comes as a dark Krishna. He does not come as a yellow Krishna, because then he just comes as an incarnation. He does not come as Krishna himself. So the Leela avatars are the avatars who come and does various pastimes, engages with the people, engages with the jivas, and then, performs various tasks to annihilate the demoniac and save the devotees. I'm not sure if that becomes makes things clear.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. It is clear. So not in all the Dwapar Yugas, Krishna comes as Krishna. When he comes as Krishna, that Dwapar Yuga is followed by a Kal Yuga that has Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the golden form.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I know we have just exhausted our time, but are there any questions or comments from the group?
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the nice explanation of the genealogy of the whatever Manu and everybody. Just a little, I don't know if I am correct here, but you can correct me also.
Yes,
Priyavrata, he get married.
Yes.
He married Barhishmati. In Canto 5 it will come. From him, we know the Matsya Avatar from. Matsya Avatar come from him.
Okay.
He has 10 sons and he has 1 daughter. So he is there also. Very interesting, I have been doing this genealogical thing, but then I found out that Dhruva Maharaj, Sati, and Kapil Dev, what is common between these 3?
I don't know, Mataji. Well, first of all, thank you so much for that information around Priyavrata and correcting me. Thank you, Mataji. But no, please tell us what is the common thing between them?
They are cousins because they come from, one is born like Sati, is born from Daksha Prajapati, and
yes,
and then Kapil Dev Muni from Devahuti, and then we get what I said.
Yes,
they are cousins.
right.
They're all cousins.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm working on one class, so I went through genealogy because I have to present all these. So, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for nice class.
Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Very much.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for that clarification. Can I request you, Indulekha Mataji, to end the session as well today, since your mic was on?
Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mataji, for hosting. Thank you, Mataji, for taking your time. I presume you are still in India and it's quite late there. And all the research is not easy. Sometimes it's confusing with all the avatars, Guna avatars, Lila avatars, Rupa avatars, what they come to do and what not. But also it's very important and interesting for ourselves. We are learning. While doing the research, you talk to others, you are learning also. So what I do Shravanam, I listen, and I do Kirtanam, I narrate. So that is the most important thing when we share the knowledge. It's not that we get the knowledge and we keep it for ourselves. That is not good. And sometimes I talk too much. That's also I should accept and stop. So thank you so much for the class. I would request everyone to just unmute and let's chant the Maha Mantra one time just to glorify Panchali Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
One.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindu bhavayascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. राज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णवीन की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरु महाराज की जय, अद्वैत यात्रा की जय, माता जी का पंचाली कौर माता जी की जय. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.